What's up, everybody? This is Jay from The Fight of Faith, and I just wanted to introduce you to our very first co-cast podcast. Now, I'm actually interviewing another podcaster who is an actual fighter, coach, and we get to hear his story. An awesome guy in California named Manny Bam Bam Lara, and he has his own podcast called The Fight Within, and look forward to digging deep with this. Subscribe to his channel and check out this new episode of this co-cast. Enjoy, and God bless. The Fight Within. How did that start for you? What made you want to start your own podcast?
Man. So I used to train with Brendan Schaub. And he has, and I wasn't like a main training partner or anything like that, but there's only a certain group of us that were, heavier. And it was like me and Schaub and Pat Cummins and Muñoz. And, I always he started the podcast, The Fighter and the Kid, while he was at our gym. Mm-hmm. And I listened to it and I was like, hey, it's pretty cool. Like, it's neat. It's a neat concept. And the more and more he kept doing it, he started making a living with it. And I was like,
time living.
Man. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's one of the dudes, and all the guys really that we trained with at Rain, they were all, you would think, and I'm not trying to throw big names out there, but it was like Mark and Chelson and Mike Bisping and Tito would come by and Jay Silva and all these big dudes.
Solid.
None of them have ever big time me. Like, if I text them or reach out to them, they're all like, yeah, bro, like, do this, or yeah, I'll come on the podcast or whatever. It's always been
nice.
There's like a respect there. And I was never some like super popular fighter or anything like that. And so the fact that they're not mean or like mean girls about it. It's really neat and kind of speaks to who they are as a character. And so once I found out, I wanted to get into sports broadcasting when I was little. I was like, if I'm not going to be able to play sports and be in the NFL or the NBA, I want to definitely announce it and be around it, because I love sports. Like, even now I'm watching The Last Dance. Like, it's awesome. I love sports documentaries and love athletics. And so I wanted to be a part of it. And it just kind of came about, but I didn't want to do what like everyone else did. I didn't want to do what, like, I was in an entertainment show. I didn't want to cover fights necessarily, even though I had a background in it. And I feel
you didn't want to be limited to that.
Yeah. And so I was like, what have I done that I think would be beneficial for other people? And so I was a fighter. I was an athlete. I've been an entrepreneur. So I'm like, that's perfect. Both of those worlds like mesh. And there's a lot of correlation between the two, with fear of failure and struggles and, working hard and working long hours and staying late. And so I wanted to have people on that can share their story and be a resource for listeners. So if there's a listener that's an up-and-coming athlete, or there's a listener that's an up-and-coming entrepreneur, or just anyone in general, because they share their life story, and it's like, okay, these are some of my struggles, and this is what I've gone through, and this is how I overcame it. So it really started, I guess to answer your question, it started with me wanting to help people. Like, I wanted to be a resource for people to have something to.
It's good.
And so, yeah, that's how it started, and for me at least. And it's been really fun. One of the most important things Schaub told me when I texted him about it, I asked him what to do, and he goes, just be consistent. Just make sure you're consistent every week. You put out the same, your episode at the same time, the same day, every week, and don't lose that consistency. And so I've had it for about a year now, and we've only recorded like 20 or 21 episodes. And so I haven't been as consistent, but there was a lot of personal things going on that didn't allow me to do it.
Sure.
But I also structured it too. So like, I have a list of guests that I want on, and they're all people that I have access to or have relationships with. It's not like, I'm not trying to get like Brad Pitt on the show, his cell phone number or anything like that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to growing it. Once this whole thing kind of gets lifted, I want to get back on it and stay consistent because we have resources to do that. And that's why I started My Fight Within, which is shot here, but it's just about, they're almost like short episodes of The Fight Within, but because that show is very guest driven, we decided to do this, and I can share a little bit about my story and some of my struggles, and in hopes of the same thing, that someone listens to it and is like, oh cool, man, like I've gone through that, I want to
Nice.
do it. But how about you, man? Why podcasting? Like, why did you want to start something?
Okay, for me, it was because that's all I did when I drive. I'm a truck driver. So, dude, I got my library, and like I told you before, it's cool that you that you know Schaub, because I'm a big fan. Like I'm a visionary, the way I think and how I even sometimes prepared, like, because with this show, I want to grow in it so well that that'll catch a lot of ears, and I've told myself, okay, what would I say if I'm on JRE, if I'm Joe Rogan? What would I say? Like, how would I represent, like, not just be a normal dude and be Christ-like, like in that situation, right? Or if I'm on The Fighter and the Kid, how much fun will I have and what will I say? You know, I think about those kind of things as I drive, right?
Yeah.
But so as I'm listening to all these shows, and I thoroughly enjoy, like I enjoy all the shows. I listen to the whole crew, that whole community they got, right? And but I want, like, as a Christian though, as a believer, I wanted to find a show that had like some spiritual upliftment or some spiritual education or something, but also be a fan of UFC or combat sports. And I couldn't find one. I literally couldn't find a Christian MMA podcast, so I started one. Like that's what it was. Like, so I'm not nowhere near a fighter. I am not a fighter, but I have won a kickboxing tournament like a while ago.
Nice.
And I'm a huge fan, like, for over a decade. So I kind of know what I'm talking about, but it's just a matter of I literally became the change I was seeking. You know, like I just wanted to become that void in the market, because there was Jesus didn't tap, you know, like there was that brand. Remember that? Like, there was not a lot though, you know. I think it's still how do you say, it's still fresh water or whatever you call it. It's still like prime real estate to get in, because there's not a lot of us. And that's why I never got to ask Mark though, because I wanted to ask him, like, because my approach doesn't have to be everyone else's approach. Like, maybe I can ask you. It's because you're a believer, and but not everybody has to put it out there so much, you know, with everything you do. Like where do you find your balance? Because with me, when I first started the podcast, it was nothing but scriptures, bro. Like, you know, like super spiritual, like nothing but like sermons kind of thing, you know. But also, and like then I had a more like, no, let's just do more than fighting stuff, motivational stuff, shallow stuff. But that's my balance that I found. So how about you? Like, because I like Christians that are real, and you don't have to Bible thump everybody. You don't have to, you know, like you can be normal and just be a person, you know. So I think
that's exactly it. I mean, I think obviously Jesus being the best example, loving people, you know, he hung out with tax collectors, talked to them, was around them, prostitutes, and really just loving on people, because you can be, it's very easy to get caught up in like your Christian bubble and judge everybody else that's outside that bubble and say, no, you're not welcomed here. We're better than you. But you know, Jesus was God. And so he obviously had a goal and a purpose as to why he was on earth. We're not. We're made in his image. We're meant, you know, to pursue him and pursue the way he lived. But at the root of it is love. And if you just love other people and you show that, I think at some point it will be exemplified. People are going to take notice. They're going to want to start asking questions, because I wasn't a believer. I didn't get saved until I was in my early 20s, and it was thanks to my wife. And so, you know, I think for me, the people that I was attracted to that were believers when I wasn't, were the people that didn't try to force it down my throat and say, you have to be this way and read your Bible every day or else you're going to hell. Because I grew up Catholic. And so growing up Catholic, I had like a fear of God. It wasn't like relationship. It wasn't like, it wasn't love. It was a fear. And I think for me, my balance really is loving people, because you're going to be around non-believers. You're going to be around people that are maybe of other faith. And so, but that's not, you're not God. Like, don't try to judge other people or tell other people how to live.
Exactly.
You love on them. Like, I forget where I heard this. It might have been on a sermon, but, you know, there's a famous quote that Gandhi said that he would be a Christian if it wasn't for Christians.
Dang.
So, like,
I never heard that. That's deep.
The people mess it up. And that's where you got to be able to separate the two. Is like, we're just humans. We're just people. We're going to mess up. We're going to sin. And so one of the coolest things that my pastor says, his name is Jason Carson, he always talks about how, like, if you're in here and you think you're perfect, then this church isn't for you. Like, this is for messed up people that are sinners, that mess up all the time. Like, get out. If you're perfect, you don't need to be here. And
Nice.
So, I think for me, the balance is definitely is definitely loving people, and to try to center yourself around them. Because I'm still human. I get upset. I get mad. I get happy. I get disappointed. And so it's really having a foundation in your faith, knowing that love trumps all. And it sounds cheesy, but when you sit back and you think about it, you kind of take a deep breath. You're like, okay, I gotta come at this with love. Like, for instance, I won't get into detail, but like, me and my wife were fighting this last weekend, and I was really frustrated. And then I go, look, man, like, it got bad. And so I just texted her and I said, I love you. I'm committed to you. Like, let's figure this out. And just that, taking that approach, for me, it was like, you almost don't want to scream. You don't want to yell. You don't want to get upset, because you're taking that like love approach, as opposed to I'm right and letting pride get in the way. Whatever I want, that's what's going to happen. And you almost have to, like, people call it like an ego death. You almost have to die to yourself and deny yourself of what you want, because your flesh, like, your person, who you are. Like me, I'm very passionate, so I get upset. If I get upset because I'm not getting my way, then I'm gonna say some dumb things. I might say stupid things, and I'm like, I gotta sit back and be like, oh man, if I come to her from love, it changes the whole thing. I should have done it from the beginning, but I didn't, and here we are. But things work out, and I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And so, I realized that I should have came in love later in the argument or in the conversation, but I still realized it. And so now I can think back and say, wow, I can't do that. And so, that's what it is for me. The balance is love, is rooting it and having that foundation in love. And then obviously, you always get into scripture in your own time. Like, I haven't been good about it. A lot of people give me really cool tips, like, hey, go spend like private time with God, like alone time, get into your word. I haven't been the best at it, because I like to keep myself busy. And so, by the time I get home, I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I want to lay down and watch The Office or whatever. and so, even that's kind of what I'm struggling with now, is like, should I even be watching that? But I almost feel legalistic if I'm like, oh, I can't be watching that. But it's at the same time, because it's my wife always tells me, like, whatever comes out of your mouth is what's in your heart. And then so whatever you feed it, that's what's it's gonna be in you. And so I'm like, yeah, you're right. that it's entertaining. And so I don't know, man. I'm not influenced by that, I guess, a lot. And you know, so it's all right. It'd be almost like, asking a recovering alcoholic to go to a bar for a meeting. You don't do that. So because I don't struggle with it, I try to justify it. Because I'm not influenced by that. Why can't I watch it and be entertained for 30 minutes?
Yeah, Jesus the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to ask you about that, man. So to answer your question, love. Okay. But I want to ask you about the post you made. You had a troll talking to you about like you should be ashamed, or what was that about?
Bro, he told me, okay, and so here's the problem, right? I'm a really good listener. I'm slow to anger. I used to have anger problems, but like with maturity and everything, it's just you pick your battles, right? Yeah. So, but the way this guy came, he just said, "No, not hi, not what's up, bro. Enjoy the podcast. I'm a fan." Nope. He said, "You need to repent and come out of that darkness." I was in that darkness, but the Lord saved me. And here's a link. And the link was to like some occult video. I didn't watch it. I didn't want to waste my time. But it said like a cult of the UFC and MMA part 1. I'm like, bro, if there's part 12 to this thing, I ain't got no time. So I went back and forth, like not like immediately, but over the next few days after that, I went back and forth with this guy because I don't like religious people, like I love everybody. But if you're the judgmental kind of person that thinks you're holier than thou and like in the name of Christ, you're ruining it for me, man. Like it's so I wanted to address it and nip it in the bud, but he was very stern. So yeah, people can check that episode out and go into detail. I have screenshots of the whole conversation. I didn't put him on blast. I wanted to say, hey, everybody blow this guy up. Yeah. But no, that's not cool. I didn't do that, but I did screenshot what he sent me though, and just the audacity, and so it's not like the fact that he disagreed with me. Anybody can disagree with me. Cool, like have your opinion, right? But it's just disrespectful how he did it. And but basically, he was just saying what I was doing was evil. He's saying that MMA or UFC is violent, so therefore believers should have no place in violence or whatever, right? But he's taking scriptures out of context, because in Psalms there's a scripture where David wrote the Lord, where the Lord hates violence and whoever partakes in it, his soul, something like that, right? Like I didn't bother to memorize it, but you got to know that David was also a man of war, right? Like God blesses our troops to go fight for our freedom and to kill people that stand for evil. That's just as holy. We got to think like we can't think everything holy is inside the church four walls. Like you just texting a buddy who needs help, that's holy. Like going to serve your country and saving lives, by probably killing some evil people that done horrible, unspeakable things. Maybe that's a way of God doing that too. I don't know. But to blanket statement say that all violence is, not of the Lord. I just think that that's pretty arrogant and religious. And I'm not a religious person at all. Like I mentioned, I listen to a lot of podcasts that probably not a lot of Christians listen to, but kind of like how you like The Office, as long as the Lord has your heart, you have freedom, man. Even with people like you said about the drinking thing, like I don't drink because that's not my thing. But if I'm not holier than someone that does drink, because Christ alone makes us holy. It's not our behavior, like, so in that sense, it's more about what is your response to that Christ made you holy, that Christ paid the price for you. What is your response to that? And other people respond differently to that, so I can talk to anybody. I actually trying to get an atheist on the show just so we can talk about it, because it just makes sense to me. It's just like even science. I love checking out science stuff. Listening to those kind of podcasts is just I'm not scared to talk about faith because it doesn't have to be so two-dimensional. Like if God is everywhere and God is for real, then we're just on our journey. We're just like on the discovery of what that means, and everyone's in different places in their journey. So I don't hate on nobody,
Well, and I think that's what's neat is that God will meet you where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to church, you don't have to. There's some cultures, like I grew up like that too, where like, oh, you wear your Sunday best. You got to dress up a certain way, and you're going to church, and you're going to this holy place. It's like no, man. Like God will meet you where you're at. If you're homeless and you're drunk and you're in the middle of this, on the sidewalk, the God could reveal himself to those people too.
Right.
So I just think it's, again, to go back to what I was talking about, to me, it's really having a foundation of love.
Yeah.
Because people gave me that opportunity when I wasn't saved, when I was, pardon my French, when I was a jackass, and I was immature, and I was doing inappropriate things and hanging out with the wrong people. God was never like, or these believers, these Christians were never like, oh no, don't hang out with Manny. Don't be like Manny. I ran into an old friend's girlfriend's like neighbor. Like she was like completely detached from me in my life. And when I saw her at a rugby game with my wife, because my brother-in-law was one of the rugby coaches for one of the local high schools here. And my wife had told her somehow, just, oh, he goes to church now, man, he's saved, and this and that.
Dang, threw you under the bus.
Oh no, she was like, I've been praying for you for years. I'm like, what? Like I don't even know you.
Wow.
Like how are you gonna say you're praying for me? Like I don't really know you. Like what are you talking about? But to her, it was like the best day in the world.
Wow.
That to me showed me like, oh man, you just gotta love on people. You love on people. You don't show it. You don't. You also don't want to. What's the word I'm looking for? Not sacrifice. I guess sacrifice. You don't want to like go do things that'll put your faith in jeopardy. But
right.
Like,
that's good.
God will meet you where you're at. Like I know I believe there's a pastor in San Diego that literally goes to bar and ministers to people. And he goes to bars.
That's dope.
And it's like God, if that's what he feels God wants him to do, like go do that. I'm not gonna go to like a strip club and go minister to strippers. Like my wife will probably leave me so quick. But I think I think you get put in places and in situations, and God will reveal himself and be like, hey, you're here for a reason. So how can we make the best of it?
Dude, I'll tell you a weird testimony that's similar to that. It was my friend's birthday, and years ago, man, I don't even know how, like probably like 5-7 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm 28 now, so I was of legal age to drink. But yeah. I went to a bar to celebrate my friend's birthday, and one of our friends, we had a few friends, some guys, some girls, and but one of the girls were like having a real hard time. Like, I don't know what happened. Like everybody was having a nice time. We were playing pool, having some drinks, just like celebrating. But this girl though, like stood out because she was just down for some reason, just down. Right. And me and my friend just started ministering to this girl. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, like, I don't remember like exactly, I don't want to throw her under the bus or anything, but like such encouragement flowed from that conversation. Like, and she wasn't even drinking or anything. She got like rocked by like the Spirit. Like she was crying. Like we were just ministering to her, praying for her in the middle of a bar. Like people doing shots over there and like pool over here. And then like, but we brought God on the scene, man. Like it's like, and we didn't go there looking for trouble. We were there for a birthday.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when Jesus did things, he was just on about his business, his Father's business. And then the Bible says that he was moved by compassion for these people. Man, me and my friend had compassion on this girl. This was a friend of a friend, and she was down. And like, I was seeing somebody at the time. We're not trying to do anything like that. And so we had another friend who's a girl who brought her like, hey, let's pray for her. Let's encourage her right there in the bar, bro. And like that, and she's saved, and now she's has a family, and I'm sure that was an impactful night. But it's crazy, like how, like times like that, like I never forget. But something that I always wanted to ask everyone that I come across in the podcast, not only just moments like that where it's like, wow, I'll never forget that, but what about what about obstacles? What about like a fight in your life? Now you're an actual fighter, so don't cheat. But like, what about like not just like a ring fight, but like what was one of the biggest fights of your life, like emotionally or spiritually, that you had to overcome?
I think it's like two-part, because it affects me as a father and as a husband, is like feeling inadequate, not doing what, and it's a process that I'm still going through. Okay. I'd say you don't feel like when I get in the ring, when I'm training, when I'm at practice, doing something I know I'm good at, I'm full of confidence and I feel like I'm unbeatable. Like I'm the best in the world. No one can touch me. I trained hard. I can beat anyone. Like for the longest time, I wanted to fight Brock Lesnar because he's like this big guy, and I was like, I can
beat him. He can't take a hit.
And that's what I said. I was like, oh, he doesn't like to get punched.
Yeah.
But I think feeling inadequate, like I'm not the best husband, or I'm not being the best dad, or I'm not being the best friend. Like I'm terrible at like following up. Like I need to reach out to people more and be like, hey man, like how are you doing? I don't need anything from you, just how are you doing? And I think because we struggle, like we were talking a little bit before we started the show, I had my son when I was 18. And because I had him when I was young, immediately I had to start thinking about, another life. Like I'm responsible for somebody else. So my parents being traditional, Mexican parents and being immigrants, they're like, you got to get a job with insurance and benefits. And, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like I knew I didn't want to work for anybody, but I think that, having failing businesses and a failing MMA career and never really feeling like I'm being the best version of myself, but then looking and thinking like I'm only 32, like I got my whole life ahead of me, Lord willing, to develop and to change and to gain and to learn and to just be the best version of myself. I think I struggled with that for the longest time, and I still do a little bit, but I struggle with it for the longest time because I see people like buddies or people that I know, in my early 20s, like, oh, they're in college and they're getting ready to go to the NFL, or this guy has a successful business and he's 25, and you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, especially when the whole social media age came about, and you start losing focus of your faith or who you are and who your identity's in. You start thinking that you need to be like that person or this person, and I need to look a certain way. I need to dress a certain way. I need to make a certain amount of money because I live in Orange County. And you start to feel like a failure because you don't have those things. And the older I got, I started realizing like we're all on our own journey, and we're all we all have our own paths that we go in. We're all sharing in this life, but individually we all have our own journey that we're going through. And I think that's what makes you special, and that's what makes you. And so, I think thinking back on it, I've gone through struggles and failed businesses and stuff like that, or like relationship troubles. But I think feeling inadequate and like I'm not the best version of myself, because in sports or in athletics, you can turn that on. You only need to be the best version of yourself for 15 minutes in an MMA fight.
Yeah.
In life, you it's a continual thing.
Sure.
It's almost like you're always expanding, and I think that's what's great about like our faith is like God says, like put your burdens, your struggles, your doubts, like put that on my shoulders. I'll carry it. Like I'll do it. And that's me great, being, I'm like, oh, I'm strong. I could do it. Like, God, I'll give you 90%, but I'm gonna keep 10. I'm gonna control 10% of it, and you just can't. And I think surrendering too is like a big struggle to fully surrender. because I'm very stubborn. And so for me, I'm like, no, you can't just pray for things and have them happen. Like, you got to move. Like, yeah, but you gotta completely surrender those things and your desires to God, because I think it says in the Bible that God puts those desires in your heart. So if He made you, He knows you. So whatever you desire, like, He knows. You just, it might not look the same for everybody. You want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur, but our journey is going to be different.
Yeah.
Those desires are there because they're real and they're true, but the journey to get to what you want is going to be different, and then you're going to impact. The one thing I've learned in that is that you need a team of people. Not like you need an accountability partner. You need a team of people to help you.
Yes, you do. Very true.
I think it's an African proverb that says, like, if you want to go, well, I forget how it goes. Like, if you want to go far, go alone. But if you want to get the furthest, go with a group or something like that. Something along those lines where, like, on your own you could do it, but with a herd of people, with a community, you can go even further. And so I think that for me is definitely a struggle that I've gone through, and still not completely the best version or whatnot, and I'm continually learning. But same goes to you, man. What are some struggles that you've had to go through, or things that you've had to overcome that are kind of, and I'm sure, I don't know if Mark said it, if you asked Mark, but he always taught me, and he always kind of preaches this, is that your past experiences shape and mold you into the person you are today. So I'm excited about that, but same goes for you, man. Like, what's something that you've struggled with or have had to learn to overcome?
For me, Mark didn't say that, but that's great. I like that, because whatever. It's funny that you said having a community of people. That was kind of what I've been learning recently. I've been going to Encounter Church Las Vegas for the past few years, like 2 years or so.
Oh, no way. My church is called Encounter too.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Called, Encounter Mission Viejo.
Oh, snap. God is doing something. Check it out. So anyway, yeah, I've been going there, and they're very big on discipleship and community. Like, you weren't built for isolation, right? And growing up, that's why I kind of relate to what you were saying, because I grew up feeling inadequate. I grew up feeling not good enough, and I don't know. Ever since I found martial arts, though, when I when I was 12, I think I was a yellow belt in like some kind of Kempo karate. And we had like a little tournament, just a point fight thing, like with like 12 kids, whatever. And I won the best fighter award. And I was like, wow, like, because I sucked at baseball, even though I played a lot of baseball. But, little league, you just go on trips if you want to raise the money, little league traveling team. I loved it. It was fun. And I came across music. I became a worship leader, and I'm still a worship leader to this day. So I was fortunate to find my life's roots in those things, right? Like, unto God, like, hey, I can lead worship. I could, but with the fighting thing, it was super embarrassing. I told the story before, I think somewhere else, but basically, one of the most embarrassing things is when John Hackleman, who trained Chuck Liddell, was refereeing like this exhibition that we had at the Pit Vegas. That's where I started. And I thought this was going to be like my debut, right? Because I just won that kickboxing tournament, right? And so I was like, dang, now if I can impress John Hackleman, I could be tight with him. He works with the UFC and Chuck Liddell. Oh, snap, right? I was like 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
And the first the first punch the kid threw, it was MMA gloves, and I got nothing but thumb right in this eye. Nothing but thumb. I ended up getting pink eye and like an infection in this eye from the first punch. I was like dazed. They called it off because I was seeing double. First punch, I didn't even do nothing. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to be a fighter. and like, it's not a reason to not fight, but for me, like, I just came to myself knowing that's not really who I am. I'm not a fighter at heart, but I'm just a big fan, and I just find it fun funner than lifting weights. So, but growing up though, those are the things I have to hold on to, right? Because my parent, it's like I didn't really get the sex talk, right? So as like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, I got extremely curious and it got the best of me. So from then to like my early 20s or like 20, like I was struggling with pornography for like years. And I know it's super common like for guys, but that was a problem that I had. Like I couldn't even think straight. It twists your mind. And like, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm married. And like, you know, me and my wife talk about these kind of things, but it's like, that was a big thing I had to grow out of, because it's a matter of like when Paul said, hey man, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, it was time for me to grow up, you know, like basically what Paul said. And I was just sick and tired of like, not only being a hypocrite because I was still like, you know, in church doing church stuff, but I was just tired of having that chain, you know, around my neck, like that, being a slave to that crap. And honestly, I can say like, I don't struggle with that anymore. Like there's temptations and there's moments, but you know, it's like, it's not a desire, because now it's like, if you're not careful, the enemy will just try something else. Like porn isn't really the problem, or like, you know, like it's like he's just trying to get your faith, whatever avenue it's going to take, in my opinion. And so back to what you were saying, that's kind of was my same thing, feeling inadequate, like feeling like I can't make enough money for my family, feeling I started this trucking business and it failed, you know, so I feel like a failure. My dad passed in January, so I never went hunting with him. I don't know how to fix a lot of stuff, right? I never, so if my wife isn't careful with her words, I can really slip into a depression, you know, like, and I've been there before. I've been suicidal before. I've like all these things just like it's like that snowball effect, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, when it's all said and done, no matter how we feel or what's going on in life, our identity just has to be based on what God says, you know, above our feelings or above the stuff we went through in life. Is like, at the end of the day, I know I messed up here. I know I did some wrong here. Like that list is 1,000 numbers long. But what does God say about it? And then what God says is that he's pleased with me, you know, because it's not based off of my performance. It's based off of what Jesus did. And he knows I'm not perfect, but he loved me anyway. You know, like I posted something about God loving Peter. He forgave Peter before Peter even betrayed him. You know, he gave it before it even happened, you know, like, and so that's the kind of love. If we meditate on that and we think about that, dang, dude, you really do love me. Like, that is what changes a life. It's not trying to be a better person. It's just realizing that God already thinks you're the best person in the world. You're his kid, you know, like we're not trying to impress him. We're just trying to pay attention to him more, you know?
Well, I think that's what's neat, is that we have our faith to fall back on. And my wife talks about it all the time. You know, it's like what I always say is like, it's a choice. Like we have a choice to go to say, yeah, like, yeah, I'm gonna let the enemy beat me down and cripple me, and I'm gonna be depressed, because it's very easy, especially with what's going on, and to feel like you're nothing, you know. But you know, it's really it's a choice. It is, and it's a choice because God gave us that free will. Like he's there, but we have a choice to say we're going to be depressed and we're going to be beat down, or we're going to do something about it, you know. And God created us, God loves us, and it's like sometimes that's even hard to realize, like, oh man, he's pleased with me, like he really loves me. That's crazy.
You sure? Dang.
Yeah. You sure? You true? We're talking about the same God. But yeah, I think it's unique. It's unique to be living in these times, and I don't know too much about prophecy, but I do know that they've talked about like the mark of the beast and this and one world currencies, and so that It's a little freaky because the technology's been around for a while, but you know, it's like, do we leave it in God's hands? Or are we worried? Like what it's a choice. We have a choice to say, hey, you know, we're going to leave it in God's hands. God knows our hearts. He knows our desires. He knows how much we love him. It's just like, what are we going to do? We're going to sit here and try to complain about it. We're going to live our lives. And I think we have to choose to live our lives and move forward and fight and battle, because we are, you know, I think everyone has a little bit of that in them. Everyone has a little fight in them. If anyone's going to fight for anything that they believe in, and they're going to work hard for anything that they believe in, that they're passionate about, you're going to move forward. You're going to go do that. Like, I wish my business would have worked out, because it was awesome. I made my own schedule. I had to go get clients. Now I'm working for someone else, but the situation's great here. Like, there's a bigger purpose to what they're doing. Like, these dudes are believers. They want to do some really neat things with nonprofits, giving back to the community. And it's like, that's what I'm about. You know, that I love helping people. That's why I coach. Like, I love helping these kids that don't have direction, that struggle, that maybe need a little push of encouragement. And so that's why I do it, you know, and it's taking me a long time. Like, I was a boxing coach, then I was a football coach. I'm a football coach now. I had a wrestling. I took over the wrestling program last year. I just stepped down. So now I'm only focused on football. But it's like, man, like I love teaching. I love coaching. I love helping and influencing. And so God gave me a little bit of a platform when I was a professional fighter and when I was active. And I didn't use it to the best of my abilities. I wasn't confident in my faith. I wasn't sure in my faith. Now it's like, I don't have to tell people, like, I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. If you don't, you're going to hell. Like, you love on them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, man, there's something different about that dude, or why is he loving on me? Like, I just cussed him out. I just yelled at him. And that's how you live it out. That's the best way to live out that love that we have, that we got. Because we got that same love and that same mercy and forgiveness, that we got that. So we have to show that to other people. And
brother.
It's hard, you know, because we're human. And like I said, I get upset, I get angry, but it's like, what am I going to do about it? If I can't change the situation, it's just like what everyone says all the time: control your controllables. Control what you can control of, and the most important thing you can control is how you react to those things. And so, I think for me, even as I'm speaking, I'm like, oh man, I got to get into my word more. It's like I read the verse of the day every day. Like, I wake up, the first thing I do is get on my phone, go to the Bible app, and read verse of the day. Like, I'm in competition with myself, because I'm like, man, I got 80 something days, because it'll tell you the streak. Like, you've been in the Bible app this many. I'm like, yeah. And you know, but I need to get more. And I can't just read the verse of the day and be like, oh, I'm happy. I got to dive deeper into it, dive more into it. And
same here, man. Same. You know, I'll add you on the reading plan that I'm on.
Yeah, do it, bro. Do
it. Yeah, because I need to get in it more too. But it's like, I want to be consistent, you know, and it helps me, like, when I pick it up and I actually have a physical Bible, because I just scroll when I'm on the phone. Yeah. And just like, yeah, okay, good word. Boop, you know, Facebook. Yeah. I just, I can't, you know, but, you know what? This has been great. This is awesome, man. I'll shoot you that. I think it's on YouVersion, right? That you use. Yeah. I'll shoot you a request and find you. But, where can people find your podcast, The Fight Within podcast? So the Fight Within podcast is, everywhere. Audio. We just started a YouTube channel with Kelvin. Our episode with Kelvin Gasson was the first one. So go to YouTube and type in the Fight Within podcast. Like it, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm just learning how to, like, market that. Be like, oh, like, subscribe, share. So all you guys, if you're listening to the Fight of Faith, go to the Fight Within podcast. We started like a little sub show, like side show, called My Fight Within, again, because the Fight Within is very guest driven, and so just go in there. There's going to be weekly content. Listen to that episode about your first loss, right? Yeah. I listened to it. Yeah, that's man. Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, great storyteller. You're a great storyteller. I was jealous, because I'm like, man, he don't stutter when he talk, and like talk so clear. But I need to work on my speaking skills. Yeah.
It's funny because I hate my voice.
Oh no, you're good, dude. You're good for real.
I sound like
everybody hates their own voice.
I don't know. It's weird.
But you're doing great, man. Like everything you're doing, like for real, you got quality content. You deserve more followers. Like everyone that's listening to this and watching this, check out The Fight Within and subscribe. This is and I got a channel, The Fight of Faith.
Yeah, man.
Like same thing, YouTube. I'm all on the podcast apps. Yeah, we got to support one another, man.
We'll talk after because right now I'm on. I use Podbean to publish it, and Podbean like automatically updates it to. We're on iHeart Radio, Stitcher, Apple, Google, and Spotify. I don't know if I need more. I'm just trying to put content out there so people like it, and so yeah, maybe we'll chat after and see maybe maybe you can show me some things that and I'll help you out.
Whatever you need, man. I'll call you right after this.
Yeah, but I'm on there on my social media, on my Instagram. It's just @BamBam_Lara. On Facebook, I'm on there all the time. It's just Manny Bam Lara. My Twitter is the same, @BamBam_Lara. And then I just started a TikTok, so I'm kind of venturing into that. I got like 3
that's gonna be fun.
So go check it out, man. Yeah.
Cool, guys. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in and subscribe to both channels. This was a successful co-cast podcast with The Fight Within and The Fight of Faith. I'll talk to you later.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. See you.